This is Unlimited Adventures. Unlimited Adventures was a role-playing game system created by Strategic Simulations. It was released in 1993. It is based on the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules for Forgotten Realms. The game allows you to change the art gallery, which includes all kinds of different graphics. First you have main pictures that'll display, such as these. You can import your own pictures if they're in the PCX format. Here, for example, we're importing one called Scum. You can also undo your imports. There's also a friendly view, because there are so many pictures, that allows you to quickly scroll to the bottom and then flip back to the other view. There's also sprites. Sprites are the types of graphics you see in first-person perspective. Here are just a few monsters. You can also, of course, import or modify the combat icons for monsters. Some monsters take up 4 squares, some take up 2, some take up 1. Depends on the size of the monster. The game also has what's called big pictures, which take up the whole top of the display. There's even a section for overland maps, which have a nice little animation for running water. You can of course create your own maps and import them in. Next, there's the ability to look at the dungeon walls. You can also view the combat terrain for wilderness. In addition, there's a wall set. I wasn't able to find a way to import wall sets or any of the terrain, so I'm not sure if it's possible. Finally, there's backdrops, and again, there was no import option. One of my favorite options in the game is the monster editor. It comes with a whole bunch of default enemies. One of the goofy things is the stats always seem to be either set at 10 or 3. So I like to go in and modify them. It also allows you to set the levels, such as this monster being a fighter type creature, the amount of experience you get for killing them. There's all kinds of special attributes which affect how combat works with them. There's a screen for changing the number of attacks and the types of damages they do. And of course you can set their movement, armor class, and Deco. You can say how much money they drop, or if they drop specific items. Then they've categorized the items into groupings. There's also special effects, such as this creature can have an owlbear hug effect. There are a whole bunch of special effects, which again is one of my favorite features in the game. You can make some pretty cool monsters with these effects. If the class of the monster is a magic user, they can also memorize spells, but since this is a fighter, it doesn't have that. By clicking Create New Design, you can begin creating your own adventures. You can specify on which type of map the adventure begins, such as an overland map. You can specify the number of experience points that characters start. I always like to have them start out with 0 and not so good equipment. Make it more challenging. Give them some money, You can even add a password protection. There's also the concept of keys or special items so that they can determine special things in the game, or basically fulfill quests. From the main menu, you can also select the design you want to work with. Here you can see our new D Fortes adventure. After selecting the adventure, you can begin creating maps. You do this by editing modules. You can move around on the map by using the arrow keys. You'll notice the little yellow arrow move around. There's different types of entities to deal with. Here we're working with blocks. It can either be passable or impassable. The file menu allows you to look at global information on the module, such as naming it, choosing the monster that would be summoned with a summon spell, and you can even create your own zones. You can think of zones as different areas on the map. You may fire certain events based on the different zones. The game allows you all kinds of control. You can even choose the camping picture. This screen is where you can set the chance of something happening in a zone. You can also set entry points, which are very handy when you're switching between different maps. Here we set entry point 1 on that little town at the upper right hand side of the screen, and we're placing entry point 2 right at this other city looking place. When you switch to zone placement, you'll see little colored blocks on the map. That's to designate which type of zone is taking up that particular space. For example, we may set all this swampy area to this one zone and some of the mountain ones to a blue zone. One of the most powerful aspects of the game is event placement. The number of events is just extraordinary. Here's a list of some of them. To add an event, you simply click where you want it to go and you choose what type of event. Here we're going to show a Hydra picture because we're in a swamp area. And then you can type in your text that you want the character to see. And you can choose where the monsters would start in this particular type of event, which is an encounter event. You can choose the type of event that fires on combat, which of course we're going to take the combat.